Now we have some examples of working with lists in Python. Let's look at some other things that we can do. Specifically, we're going to look at how to interact with our Python list and how to use different features and functions of Python with our list. Here our example of data is incrementing by 10. We're going to print out that data, and then we want to modify a specific element. Because a list, each element is mutable, as is the entire list. So we're going to take an example. We're just going to look at running this file so we can see what's going to happen with it. So here we're going to run list 5. And notice we have elements 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50, just as we expected. We then set element 1 to be 0. And notice when we print out our list a second time, we now see 0 there. Finally, on our third line we have printed out, we notice that it's 50. Well, if we go back and look at our code, we'll notice that we're printing element 4. Now, a list in Python, remember, start at element 0. And therefore, element 4 is our 5th element, or our last element in data, and is the reason why it printed out 50. So, in this example, we saw how to print out the whole list, how to modify the value of a specific element, and how to print out a specific element, accessing just that one element. That becomes really powerful because a lot of times we don't want to work with the whole list. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. So here's how we can work with individual elements. Now we're going to do something a little bit different. We want to work with our list by adding two together. We're going to merge two lists together. So I have list 1 and list 2. Notice that list 1 is even numbers and list 2 is odd numbers. I use the addition operator and we're going to merge that into list 3. So if I run list 6, you notice that I see 2, 4, 6, 8, my even numbers, then 1, 3, 5, and 7. So when we add two lists together, we do not automatically sort them or order them in any way. We're literally just appending all that information at the end of one list into another. But because we did it, as you can see here, where we create a new list, our list 1 and our list 2 are wholly intact. But what happens if you want to modify a list by appending one list to another? Well, here's a good example of that. Same basic starting point. We have list 1 and list 2, but instead of creating a third list, we append list 2 to list 1. Notice that our output is identical. However, the big difference is in list 6, our original list stayed the same. And we can see this by printing out our original list. So we're going to add up a couple of print statements, printing list 1 and list 2. And here with list 7 example, you can see the data is stored inside list 1. So let's go back and rerun our previous example. Notice how our original lists stay intact. And that's a pretty important thing when working with lists, is to know if we're modifying our list or if we're sending that modification to a new list. So in this example, we modified our existing list by doing a plus equals, taking what we have and appending to it. Now let's work on how we can access specific elements of a list. Here I have a list called days, and I have the short and abbreviated version of the name for our days. Well, I could print out all my days, and that gives me everything. However, I only want certain ones, and these are the weekdays. That would be Monday through Friday. So I'm going to use this operator here, and it's going to specify a starting point and an ending point that lets me access my list. This is going to access the list, and it's going to put those elements into my weekdays list. So if I take this example and run it, so if I run this example, you'll see all the days appear the first time when I print out the whole list. But the second time, I only get the weekdays, Monday through Friday, because of how I specified it. I specified a starting and ending elements. Notice that my ending element is not the last one, it's the first one to be excluded. And that's an important point to recognize.